Hello and welcome to the Two Robbies podcast, your destination for in-depth discussion and analysis of the Premier League. I'm Robbie Mustoe, he's Robbie Earl, and here are today's topics. Gabriel's stoppage time header hands Arsenal a dramatic 2-1 win at Newcastle and proves their mettle in the title race. Crystal Palace hit the jackpot against Arne Slot's machine as Eddie Nketiah's late goal hands Liverpool their first loss of the season. And Manchester United and Chelsea get stunned by Brentford and Brighton as Premier League giants stumble in an historic weekend. That's what we've got coming up in today's episode.
Okay, mate, I'm just going to, before we get to any of the football, just talk me through your day out at the Ryder Cup on Friday. And obviously we're doing the podcast now on Sunday afternoon as the singles are playing out, but it's pretty much done and dusted for Europe. Tell us about your day, mate. I know how much golf means to you.
Yeah, brilliant day, and fair play to Tim. Tim Howard came up trumps with a couple of tickets. Very hard to get tickets to the Ryder Cup, and they were fancy VIP tickets, Rob. Ooh. So we kind of arrived in a fancy entrance in a fancy car. As we arrived, there's helicopters arriving right by us. As, you know, people are getting out of these helicopters, and we had a red carpet kind of stuff. So
wow.
Really, really fancy.
Fancy musty, I like it.
Yeah, a little unusual for me, but it was great. We had a hospitality room. As you can imagine, Robbie Earl, I ate a little bit, I drank a little bit. It was brilliant. And me and Tim walked the course a little bit, looked at the some of the matches. So many people there, though. You know, it's a great venue, but there's so many people there. It's hard to watch a lot of golf. But no, me and Tim had a bloody brilliant time, and you know, I got to support Europe in this competition. And they did great. They're doing this, continue to do well now. And as we record this, the singles are going on. I think they need a couple of wins, I think so. Yeah. But a brilliant performance from Team Europe. I mean, wow, like maybe like one of the best team performances in any competition, Rob, probably in any sport for a long time. Amazing. So far, I mean, they haven't won it yet, but it looks pretty good. But thanks for asking. No, it's a fun day, really fun day.
Great stuff. While you were doing, you know, fancy stuff. Some of us were sitting in the studio doing our stuff. Probably Rob, one of the best weekends of football so far, weekday 6. Let's start at the game that was played today, St James's Park, Newcastle versus Arsenal, a Newcastle team that haven't quite got it all figured out. The Isaac thing, I think, was a bit of a cloud over them. Anthony Gordon being suspended, getting Voltermoda in the team. Wies's sign for the football club not being available. So these issues around Newcastle, probably why we haven't seen the very best of them this season. And then an Arsenal team, Rob, who Mikel Arteta came in for some criticism really this week. Has had to ride that. People talking about playing with the handbrake on and, you know, has he got enough devil? Does he really go for things? So there was a real narrative going into the game. And obviously St James's Park is a place where Arsenal haven't done particularly well of late. Remember the fallout in the touchline a couple of seasons ago when Arsenal didn't get Newcastle scored goals at Arsenal. Yeah. So, you know, bit of history, bit of needle, and the game lived up to all expectations, I thought.
Yeah, it's a brilliant game, Rob, wasn't it? I mean, brilliant game. I mean, Newcastle United at home are just formidable. They, you know, the big boys. I know Liverpool went there early in the season, didn't they, Rob? And look back at some of the results from last year. 3-2, late goal. But even last year, I mean, not many of the top sides get a result there at all. So it's a very, they love it. The Geordies love the big boys coming to town. And it was a physical Newcastle, Rob. Yeah. We know, we've talked about Newcastle and Eddie Howe's 2 modes. And there's a drop-off, sit-back mode, counter-attack mode, and there's a high-energy, high-press physical mode. Well, it was the latter. And I think the Geordies love that. I think he always does that at home when he can, particularly against some of the good footballing sides. They were powerful. They were strong. And Nick Voltermoda again gets his goal, Rob, his header to put Newcastle up 1-0. Nick Pope had to make a ton of saves in the first half. Yeah. I mean, Arsenal went with Amorim as an 8 or a 10, kind of float between the two positions. I think he makes a difference. He just gives them a little bit of quick feet, a little bit of forward thinking. Yeah. And the manager took a little bit of a stick from not playing him in the last game. But it was I thought it was a very impressive Arsenal performance, Rob, from the beginning to the end. And I know when you sit at half time when you're 1-0 down, you know, it's like, wow. Like I thought Nick Pope made some phenomenal saves to keep Arsenal out. Yeah. Arsenal kept going. And the quality, the subs, the changes, the different people they can bring in now. I thought they deserved the win. I know it's late. I know it's a set piece, and people might say, well, they rely on set pieces. I mean, what a strength to have, Rob. We talked about this in the last year. I mean, why not be good at something that's a really important part of it? They're very good at it, and it. Just on that quickly on that goal, Rob. Not just the header, but the blocking of the goalkeeper. When you saw it from the angle behind, Saliba on the goalie, it's like this is all choreographed so perfectly. The ball, the arrival of Gabriel and Saliba in front of it was just perfectly executed set piece, and I just thought it was deserved. Arsenal were a really good team today, Rob.
It was. I mean, I must admit, Rob, we got to half time, and I talked to you about a couple of the incidents that happened in the first half, but we got to half time, and I think I said to Bex or something, this is a tester now. Mikel Arteta's got to get his boys back focused. I felt as though there was a frustration running through Arsenal and a little bit of emotional control, and it looked to me like I thought they might get caught up in the physicality and the atmosphere and not quite be able to get their football. But in fairness to them, they continued to pin Newcastle back. They continued to create chances. There's 80-odd minutes on the clock, and then Marino comes on and gets an important goal. And as you say, they go to set-piece mode, and that's good enough to win the game. I want to pick out one player, I think, before I go to the incidents, the penalty incidents in the first half, particularly because that's divided opinion and still seems to have. I just have to circle out Declan Rice today, my friend.
Yeah.
Declan Rice was unbelievable. Mate, he was running and chasing people. But he did one run. He was nearly on the penalty box attacking. He ran the full length of the pitch to get a block in. You could see his chest pumping and thing. And then also went on the attack and he put his head down and he sprinted forward again. The drive and energy in this guy is infectious, is really important to Arsenal, and goes a little bit under the radar, I think, at times. People keep telling you what Declan Rice doesn't do, or this, or not enough goals, or not enough that. I thought when his team needed him, in the second half particularly, I thought he was unbelievable, mate.
Well, that's where I love Declan Rice in that situation, Rob, where you want to trust a midfield player to track a run or to help out the central defenders or to block or clear things away. That's personally, I think, his best attribute as a footballer is a guarding midfield player to defend, to help, to more than a number 8. Yeah. I mean, I think the balance of the three today was a little different because Alberto Eze was in there. And that changes the blend of a three midfield players, makes them very different. Marino come on and get his goal, to be fair. But I like Rice when he's got as big a responsibility going back as he has going forward, because I think there's better players. Odegaard came into the game as well as 8s than he is. I mean, Arteta will continue to play with this and to mix it around a little bit. But you're right to pick him out because there's a couple of times late when, he's the one who's chasing people back all the way back to the byline. You're like, wow, is his hamstrings going to pop here because he's sprinting so much? But that's a good pick out. No, he was excellent. I just thought Arsenal in the whole, Rob, were really some of the football, even in the first half, they popping the ball around one touch. Eze with his little feet in there. And the only thing I made a note of in the first half, Rob, just as Arsenal was struggling to get behind Newcastle, was Trossard was very narrow on the left. And, Calafiori's role is very different. I heard Arteta explaining it, Rob. It was fascinating in a press conference where he sort of explained how Calafiori played, and he basically said it's depending on so many things. And he rattled off, Rob, the way that the opponent's number 9 is pressing, the way that the opponent's wide player, is he staying wide, is he tucking in, is how Calafiori plays, which then affects how the wide left player plays. As you'd expect these level of coaches and this level of football, there's stuff that goes into why they play people in certain positions that, quite honestly, is over our heads. It's really bright and really smart. And there's obviously a reason why Calafiori didn't really tuck into the middle of the park. No. He stayed wider. Trossard came in field to play, kind of alongside Eze as
played as a 10 at times. We had a little thing, and it was like Eze and him with the 2 10s either side of the midfield. Which
and
was
then you got
really
that box.
Yeah, and he got that little box where they could play.
With Rice and Zubamendi as the two
and
bottom pieces of that box.
At the top end. So, it was interesting. Let's go to the big talking point in the first half, mate. It was the penalty incident when Gyökeres goes through. I think Murphy rolls the ball back that's short. Gyökeres reads it, gets there, touches it past Nick Pope. It would seem on the first impression, the referee seen the challenge then has come in. There's a contact between the goalkeeper and the striker. He points to the penalty spot. Penalty was given. VAR intervened, and it was deemed that VAR said that the ball, the goalkeeper got a touch on the ball, and because of that, it goes down in inverted commas like a save, and so the contact after was not necessary. I thought that was a poor and wrong decision for me. I get that Nick Pope touched the ball, but Gyökeres is at speed. He bashes him into him. Gyökeres goes to ground. If Gyökeres can stay on his feet, he probably can run towards the ball and shoot towards the goal without the challenge. I didn't see it as a clear and obvious error, which is the benchmark that we're supposed to go by. It almost felt like it was re-refereed, and that's where I had a point. Tim went the other way, and maybe not just the goalkeepers union, but he felt that the touch was enough to say whatever happens after is like just a collision of the two bodies coming together. It's one of those, Rob. It depends which side of the argument you want to be on. For me, and it's not just because I was more of an attacking player, I thought it was a foul and I thought it was a penalty kick.
Well, I think it's a great argument from both sides. And I think the first thing to say about Tim's analysis, that Tim is about as honest as it comes with goalkeepers. There's as many times, in fact, more than I would say, that he thinks goalkeepers should be stronger in many situations. So he is in no means kind of oft on the side of goalkeepers. I tell you, when you first saw it, Rob, right, I think we all thought, Gyökeres kind of gets the ball, he's tripped him over. It's a foul, right? So it looked like a foul. Now, VAR is there, we know, for shockers, for horrific decisions, for no-brainers, like, wow, that's terrible. That's what it's there for. This was a re-refereeing situation, and when we zoomed in on the super slow motion, these amazing cameras that we can now get the benefit of in watching sport, there's a little touch on the ball, but he still comes through and clips the player. Correct. So if I was re-refereeing it, I kind of get the argument from both sides, and we can sit here all day and argue that. But I would go back to what VAR is again. And is it a clear and obvious error? The fact that you and Tim Howard have watched 1,000 incidents, had a different side to it. For me, it smacks of, that's not a clear and obvious error. I think it was a foul. You can get a little piece of the ball, just like happens on the field, didn't it, Rob? You can get a bit of the ball, but you can still foul the player. And it wasn't a big touch. It was a small touch on the ball from the goalkeeper, and it was in distance. It felt like Gyökeres to get it.
Correct.
And he couldn't get it because he tripped by the goalie. So I would tend to think I would go on your side of it. But I'll be honest with you, it's a strong argument from both sides. Though sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. I just think VAR, come on. It's a clear and obvious error that everybody can see. But it wasn't one of those for me. But anyway, I mean, it didn't.
In the end, it didn't change the game. I mean, if Arsenal had got the goal and gone 1-0 up, it certainly would be different. In some ways, Rob, and I'm sure Arsenal fans won't enjoy me saying this, and Mikel Arteta won't enjoy me saying this, but the way how they won it, didn't half give you, Beck said, didn't half give you a lift, didn't half give you a bit of belief in what you're doing. I know it's late and I know you want to win games easier and better, but to be, 1-0 down away at Newcastle, as you said, it was one of the most difficult places to go with that fan base and that team, and end up winning 2-1. It kind of was a perfect situation for Arsenal, and they just should take so much from it. I said to Bex, I got to half-time and I couldn't quite see them getting the 2 goals. And I said, it's not important that I believe, that they believe it is the thing. And I sense they do. I sense they do. I sense they feel this depth of squad, this group they've got, this ability to change players, gives them a chance to do that. And this was massive today, because if they had lost or drawn or lost, mate, the narrative would have been out, and it'd be everywhere again, all over the papers, all over the TV, about Mikel Arteta being too cautious.
Just there was another handball shout, wasn't there, Rob?
It was Gabriel late on with Elanga. He makes a good challenge.
I thought they made a good call.
Yeah.
You know, the arm looks separated, but remember, you know, the general direction is it a justifiable position?
Yeah.
Could you justify his arm being there in that particular moment in the game? And I think the officials got it right there.
The ball actually came off his shin as well, so it deflected onto the arm, which again is another factor in saying. So I think, I think the big calls, you know, in that situation was right, but.
Just just Robert, let me just like summarize a little bit like you just did there. You know, the only thing that wasn't great for Arsenal was the goal they conceded.
Yeah.
From Mosquera to shank the ball out and from Gabriel to go down way too easily. Yeah. You know, Arsenal were very hard to score against. You know, if they and you get a goal against them, it's going to be
you earn it.
It's really, you have to really earn it, and that's why I still will back Arsenal to be favourites for this Premier League title. Their goal difference is the best in the league right now. They're just 2 points behind Liverpool. We'll get on to Liverpool's game. But just for the variations in midfield and attack, as well as a tremendously strong defensive line, I just think they showed it today. Well, that's not easy to go there and boss that game as much as they did against that team that were high pressing with a high energy. I thought it was impressive today from Arsenal.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the reason I think Liverpool will do it and not Arsenal is because days like today, I probably would have thought they'd end up with a point.
Right.
And they've ended up with 3, which is a step in the right direction for them and might be the reason why they go closer than I think. You know, so today was a big day, I think, for the team and for the manager and the fan base. And, you know, they've come out with the big 3 points, which is huge for them.
Yeah, and to be fair, Rob, just before we move on,
the
only thing I'd say with these celebrations, right, we've seen all this before, haven't we, from Arsenal? We've seen big wins before.
Big stuff. Yeah.
Jumping around, celebration. Yeah. It's a long, long way to go. I'm sure they've learned from previous seasons where, you know, they sort of feel like this is a huge moment. It was a big win. It felt a big win, and it must help their confidence. But they've had these before, and they failed to get over the line. So, you know, they got to keep themselves.
We're 6 games in, my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
6 games in.
Nothing definitive. Absolutely not.
Absolutely. Okay, mate, let's go to the reigning Premier League champions who were facing Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Crystal Palace have been a bit of a bogey team of late to Liverpool. It was a kick-off. It was Crystal Palace who got themselves off to an early start. Goal from Ismail Assar, I know one of your favourite underappreciated players, performers of the week. Yeah. They get the 1 goal up. Liverpool, I thought, got torn apart. As leaky as I've seen them, which is a credit to Crystal Palace, but a real bad look on Liverpool and just their defensive structure. I thought the goalkeeper came up with a couple of brilliant saves, one-on-one, Rob, when if he isn't there, one or two of those go in, and Palace could easily have been 3 or 4-0 up at half-time. I think then we all go to the narrative, this is Liverpool, they're not playing particularly well, they haven't scored, there'll be a late goal. Chiesa comes up and gets that late goal, and then we're all like, oh no, here we go again. It's another late winner. It was a late winner, but it was for Eddie Nketiah and Palace and not for Liverpool. I know you, for one, and a few have been saying, like, you have to be careful, how they've been playing because something like this is coming. Was that almost exactly, pointing to where you see that defensive frailty and the lack of maybe control that Liverpool would want as champions?
Well, champions, Rob, don't concede many goals, do they? Again, I look back because that's the sort of thing I do. But I look back and champions, they're not conceding 40 goals over really, or not many of them are. It's like less than a goal a game conceding, and the rate they're on is not sustainable. We talked about this, Rob, didn't we, recently? It's like, okay, there's a few things that's going on here. They're either going to sort their stuff out here, and they're going to stop the goals going in. They're going to go on. They're going to win a lot of games because they've got a lot of great forwards. Is it the team gelling, just finding their feet a little bit, or is this something that's going to be an issue? And this game says, for now, at least anyway, that the defensive problems we've seen of the goals conceded is an issue, and it come back to hurt them in this game. It was always something was going to give, wasn't it? In this one, both unbeaten. We know that Palace are brilliant defensively for the most part, and Liverpool have been leaky. They changed the front lying around a little bit, Rob. I know, again, this is part of the reason at the start of the season where I'm like, Liverpool going to change almost half of the outfield team.
Yeah.
And again, you had Florian Wirtz playing off the left, but basically given a free license, an absolute free license to go all over the park to try and get on the ball, which is different. Nketiah was out, of course. So you had...
He's sorted, didn't he?
In front, who's not quite match feet yet. So there's little things that are finding their way through, but it wrapped up in defensively, they're not as strong as they need to be early on the season to kind of. I mean, I know they won all the games, but this is one of those. There you go. You can't concede multiple goals in games and expect to remain at the top of the league table. So they are still, of course, right now, and we're still on that scenario, Rob, where they might figure it out. But if they don't figure it out, they're going to drop points and enough not to win the title, in my opinion, if they keep conceding many goals.
Might they spend $40 million in the January window and go and get Mark Gay? Problem solved.
That's a big part of it. I thought Ibrahim Konate had a bit of a nightmare, I'm generally a fan of him. Mateta kind of bullied him many times, particularly in the first half. You're right, Rob. I made the same note. It could have been 4 or 5-0 in the first half. So he obviously, Mark Gay, he would help. Odd game for Gay playing in this, Rob, isn't it? Realising up against the guy that the
team he could have been playing for.
Yeah, so that's something. That they might do that in the and they need to, Rob, because the young lad has got a cruciate, hasn't he? Done his ACL.
Giovanni Leone, the kid. Yeah, he played against Southampton in the League Cup. Looks like he's going to be out for 12 months. So
they really do need a centre back. They really do need Leone and Joe Gomez are very much second tier centre backs.
Yeah.
And, having those as cover is risky. You lose one of them, and now, you are 1 or 2 inches away from a real problem. So whether it'll figure out all the... I'm a big believer in team defending, Rob, team attacking, team defence. One player will help, I think, but not... There's more than one central defender, in my opinion, that needs to be more focused defensively to help Liverpool win games, a bit more like 1-0 or keep more clean sheets. So... Again, that is the issue, the nagging issue, and it came back to hurt them late here with a long throw in, wasn't it? Was it a long throw in the last goal? I can't remember. Or the ball
played in, didn't it? It was headed on, and then Gravenberch played him on side.
Yeah,
that was just a little one on that on Liverpool on a slot with Liverpool. Don't know if you saw his press conference, and again, I'm not sure what he was alluding to, or I'm actually not sure why he said it. But he came out in the press conference and said one of my forwards was more worried about running forward and looking to counter-attack than defending the ball coming in the box. And that was possibly the reason why we lost a winning goal. Which I thought was quite a strange thing for a manager to say, because he wasn't naming a player, so it wasn't like he was pointing the finger, but he's obviously talking to somebody through the media. So straight away, what's the first thing we do? We get the tape. I look around. Who's running out? Looks like Cody Gakpo was on the 6-yard box.
Was it?
And then he goes flying out the box. And then as the ball gets played in, he's not in a position, but he wasn't necessarily. But he did come running out of the box a little bit.
He could have stayed. He could have stayed back then, Robin.
He could have just stayed somewhere around that 6-yard box, and he might have been there. Listen, I'm not sure he definitely stops it, but I just thought it was an interesting way the managers communicated
quite honest,
his
Rob,
message.
He's quite honest with his comments, and sometimes it can be quite brutal.
I think he can be quite brutal, and I think it's one of those where he is, he's not Jose Mourinho, name you, shame you, chuck you under the bus, but I think there's sort of ways he gets messages across. We saw it with Trent last season. We've seen it with other players. Kirkhoff this year when he was on a yellow card and he dragged him off. And
Ekitike's yellow card, Rob, wasn't it? It was a bit harsh.
He jumped on him, didn't he? About the celebration, and he shouldn't be doing it. So I thought it was just another little message from Slot in terms of, listen, this guy's a bad loser. All the champion managers are bad losers, and he's just making sure that everybody understands that we've all got a team responsibility. We've got. I think we've got to talk Palace, Rob, a little bit before we move on, because
we have. Brilliant.
A couple of things that have become apparent, and I've got good friends at Mark Bright, one of my good friends who's really close at Palace, and I texted him after the game, and he just said, like, this guy in charge is a special guy, mate. And I think the worry for Palace is that his contract runs up at the end of the season, Oliver Glasner, and playing the system that is causing Ruben Amorim all kinds of problem. But the way he brings players in, the way he tweaks things, his tactical understanding, his possession, with and without the ball, I just feel like he's going to be on a few people's radar, mate. A few bigger clubs' radar across Europe, I would say, not just in the Premier League.
You're right, mate. All across Europe. Yeah, it really, really is. I mean, it's a spectacular job to bring a club through to their. I think Rebecca said, the best time of all to be a Crystal Palace fan right now, the best year, 2025, where they've won so much. They're in a position now, league table, which is incredible for them. After regularly losing players. Yeah. I mean, it's your mate Brighty, Mark Bright. I know he's high up there at Crystal Palace to try and persuade Glasgow to sign a new contract. I mean, that's got to be the club's ambition. I mean, whether it will happen, it seems unlikely given the big jobs and the desire to get a top manager. He's mature. He's good in his press conferences. Tactically shown he can do a very good job. And he's pulled the club have recruited well, Rob. I've always said that about Palace.
Been excellent.
I'm going to jump to my underappreciated, and it's a little bit of a different one this week.
Okay.
But watching this game and the way that Palace defended, I just thought these three central defenders of Crystal Palace, Mark Gahey, Max Lacroix and Chris Richards, the three central defenders, were absolutely outstanding in the game. Yeah. And I get that Mark Gahey is probably appreciated. So there's a little, with him, I get that he's, of course, wanted by Liverpool. But the other two particularly, and the three as a unit, I mean, some of the best defenders in the Premier League as a unit together, as a essential three. So I didn't want to pick out any one, but I just thought the way they defended as a three-man back line, I don't know where it gets much better than that, and what they bring, and the determination, the heart, the heading balls away. Just think they're a really good centre-back triumvirate.
Relationship. Yeah, they work well together. It's a really good shout because, listen, we've seen plenty three at the back, and West Ham were trying it, looked terrible. Man United are trying it, looks terrible.
Loads try it.
There's loads who can't make it work. So yeah, it's a really good shout. The three centre backs who are sort of unsung heroes in the team. Everybody was talked about the Elises when they're there, and the Ezes and the Tetters and all those forward players, but they don't half get it right at the back. And the two wing backs do a good job for them. So good times for Palace. Good times for Oliver Glasner. Knowing Brighton, my mate, he'll talk to Oliver Glasner, and then if he doesn't sign, he'll put him in a headlock and keep him there till he signs the contract, mate. So we'll see how that goes though. But good times for Palace, and beating the champions at Selhurst Park, which opened the door up for Arsenal to them to do their stuff today. Let's move it to the Gtech, mate. Keith Andrews, Brentford team taking on Ruben Ammon's Manchester United. I think it was before the game, 3 of the last 4 times United have played there, United have got beaten, so it wouldn't be a surprise. And the thing with United, any result isn't a surprise at the moment. Every now and then you see a performance and a result. Other times you can't scratch in your head what's going on. Before the game, Beck said to me, is this the kind of game that if United win, and I've looked at the fixtures coming up, so they've got Brentford, they've got Sunderland, Liverpool, Brighton and Forest. She said, is that a number of games they can get some points, get some consistency and start to move in the right direction? And I said, who knows, Bex? It's Man United. From game to game, I have no idea what you're going to get. And I think the biggest problem for Ruben Amorim is he's in a pretty similar position. Well,
I've said about United a couple of weeks ago, Rob, that until the front three become fit, and let's see a run of games where he's got his new players out there and his kind of, his summer additions, a lot of money spent on those front three players, and Burma, Cunha and Shesko. They started. And, I thought there was moments in the game where they looked pretty good going forward. Bruno's linking up with them pretty well. And that's what United need to see. Now, the result was a shocking result. I know Bruno missed a penalty. And the non-award of a red card to Nathan Collins, Rob, when you pull a player back in Burmo,
he pulls
that's right in front of goal, and he's not attempting to play the ball. I text you, I'm like, I don't know where to, I don't know what to say.
Well, apparently the excuse was that he has to be in control of the ball, which is the worst excuse you can ever.
So anytime somebody's going to do a one-touch finish, I can just yank him from behind,
because he's
right?
not. As long as the ball's not on his foot,
Yeah.
as long as he's away.
That might be the most ridiculous thing I may have ever heard in terms of that. And you know what I did, Rob? Because I think I'm pretty close to the interpretations of the officials, right? Yeah. But when I get a weird one, I'm like, if I miss something, I went back and looked at the FIFA laws of the game, law 12 about discipline and red cards and all that. And when you read it, that's a red card. He's absolutely there, gonna knock it in, control it, whatever he wants. If you can't do it because somebody stops you. So that's one that I'll be looking forward to. And the next time the referee's going to come out,
mic'd up and
tell us that. So I really didn't get that. So that obviously didn't help. But now United have got some of their players back. We're gonna look, Rob, over the next few weeks. We're gonna me and you we're gonna chat United every single week. Yeah. It's mostly gonna be like this, where it's frustrating. When we get to December and there's been a good run of the new players playing in there, if they're not putting runs of wins together and looking like progression, he's got to go. He's got, because it's just not working. It's a long enough time. He's had a window. He's had players to come into his system. I don't think the recruiting's been brilliant, because they didn't bring a central midfield player in and a right wing back and maybe a goalkeeper. But there's been a lot of money been spent. Now, if he has to pay for bad recruitment, that's what might happen. But again, a couple more months, because you can't.
Do you think a couple more months, Rob? Do you think?
I do.
Months, like 8 games.
I'm always out. I'm always out. So whatever I say, minus about a month.
It was interesting that Gary Neville comes on, who's our Premier League contributor from the obviously the UK, famous Manchester United winning captain and player, and that definitely has an inside feel of what's going on at Manchester United, and probably as strong as I've heard Gary say that he felt like could be weeks, almost like this guy's under serious pressure now. Yeah. Which made me think, and again, I'm not saying Gary's telling you he's going to go or not, but just for somebody who's close to the know and has a real touch and feel of Manchester United, I get the sense we're probably talking 4 or 5 games. And it might be up to the games. I've took the Liverpool one, they might look at different, but Sunderland, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, I think if we're not seeing some wins, 8, 9, 10 points at that situation, Rob, I think we might be in for change.
I mean, the goals they conceded, Rob, and the nature of long balls over the top, and Harry Maguire again gets a start at centre back and gets caught out over the top.
Then he changes his centre backs, and Luke Shaw, he takes 2 centre backs off. I've never quite understand what that one's all about.
But the point being is that he's got most people fit now. When Cunha was out and they weren't playing well, it's like, well, he's kind of the best attacking player. Let's get him back in the side. Let's give them the front three a run. He's got his options defensively now. He's made his decision with the goalkeeper. That's on him now in terms of who's Alte's being the number one. And they didn't go for Emi Martinez. Let's see, and maybe you're right. With the strongest-ish 11 available, and the next month, then let's say, 4 or 5 games. Let's see how they look. If there's no improvement, then they got to start again. It's horrific to say it, but you can't keep going down. He's been a brilliant manager in Portugal. In Portugal. Nowhere else in a team that dominates the possession. If Man United dominated possession, this would look so different. But the Premier League is so hard, and there's so many good teams that are good on the ball, that they are going to have long periods in every single game without the ball. And that's where the system, with the restrictions, with the players he's got, has looked to be not up to it. And we'll see another few more weeks of his best side. They better start progressing, because every manager's got to show signs of progression, period.
They need a run, mate. They need some kind of run that starts to put some wins, some draws, or else, as good as he is, as good a reputation as he's got, they're going to have to make a big call on that one. Let's move to Stamford Bridge, where another place where there's a little bit of unrest. Chelsea 1, Brighton 3. Chelsea go 1-0 up through Fernandes, and then game changing. Chalobah makes a poor challenge on Gomez, who's going through. It's definitely a foul. It's also denial of a goal-scoring opportunity. So for 2 weeks running, Chelsea down to 10 men. And then Brighton came back into the game. Danny Welbeck came on as a sub with a couple of goals, and Max de Kuiper gets a header in the 6-yard box where Chalobah might have been. So Brighton end up winning the game 3-1. I was doing a bit this. I was doing this game more, keeping an eye on this around the window. There's a few boos in that at the end, Rob. The Chelsea fans weren't happy with what they're seeing.
Well, they've never been fully convinced, have they? Chelsea fans, they haven't been. You know, and I get it. Those Chelsea fans know what they're doing. They've seen football, successful football over a long period of time.
Yeah.
I think some are excited by a project, a very different, unprecedented project of young players bought from all over the world at great expense to be great players and great investments. And some people are like, why we spend all this money on young players when we had all this money?
That seems to be the
new
narrative, doesn't it? Now, like when we spent all this money, and we're not much better than we were before we started.
Yeah. And also, like, the point being as well against Brighton, Rob, the flipping club that you give them an absolute fortune, billions of pounds or whatever, and to pick their best players, and they still come on your turf and
turn you
beat
over.
you is not a good look for the manager as well. He's spiky. He's never really had a sustained run of bad results where, you know, the pressure starts to mount a little bit, and they might not now. They might bounce back. I'm in general, I've liked this project. They've got success. They won that thing in the summer, of course, the World Cup, which to some is a big deal. To some others, it's not. I think it's quite a big deal to go there and beat all those teams and to win it.
80 million in your bins ain't bad either, by the way.
Yeah, the money was good. But you know, this will be.
Yeah.
Well, I think this will be pretty organic. If they improve slowly and steadily, and the young players get better, it's going to be all good. If it stalls, Rob, for any reason, or they go on a long run of results where it's not great, then you start getting rumblings again, and then the pressure will mount on this guy. That I'm not sure how he's going to cope with the difficult questions, because he can be quite spicy, can't he? And pretty honest with his comments. So bad luck. Again, I didn't see this one closely. It's the same window as all the other games.
Yeah.
And it's tough to watch closely 2 or 3 games at the same time. I know you could watch it more closely. But I watched, of course, the highlights and the sending off, you know, getting caught the wrong side. It's an obvious dogzo. And Welbeck, you know, then again does the business. So bad luck I always think it's a real bad luck when a Brighton, you know, we're talking about these teams that lost out to your Brentfords and your Brightons, brilliantly run clubs. And it just shows you now this league, you know, with the money that all of them are getting, you make good recruitment, you pick good managers, they can beat anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously Cole Palmer's out with this groin injury that they're saying they don't want to operate on. They want to give him time to rest and get fit. So obviously that's going to run a period of time, talking probably after the October international break that he'll be back in the team. But I still have my reservations about Chelsea defensively. And it includes the goalkeeper and includes the back four.
Well, the goalkeeper,
I'm just not sure that's it. It's at the level that it needs to be when I talk of all the other big clubs. I'm talking big 6 teams and looking. But
that's going to be another changing, Rob, isn't it? Everything's always changing at Chelsea. The front line's changed again. It takes time to get used to these players. There's so many players coming in and out. You know,
that's where somebody at the club has to say, right, okay, enough.
Settle it down a little bit.
We've got a group, like this is where we're going, this direction we're going for the next 18 months, and we're going to go down there. And if that doesn't work, then we'll change. But feels like month to month, it seems like different faces, different people, different changes.
You've got to learn it. You've got to learn the system every single time.
Nacho's, you know, still learning and being a part. Yeah, he's the next one. Just before we move on, mate, I'm going to give you my underappreciated performer of the week. And he's a gentleman who's now 34 years of age, so just a couple of years younger than us. He's started his career at Manchester United in 2008, played 92 games for the Red Devils, scored 20 goals. Danny Welbeck, my friend. In an era and a time when clubs are having to spend 70, 80, 90 million dollars for the Jokerezes and the Voldemolders and the Sheskos, who look great players and the Europhiles and have played in all these clubs, but actually we don't know, can they do it in the Premier League? Danny Welbeck, my friend, can do it in the Premier League and still continues to do it. Came off the bench in this game, gets a couple of goals. Had a lovely moment, don't know if you saw, he took his shirt off to celebrate. The referee came over, giving him a yellow card. The referee was a baldy man. He kind of put his hand on his bald head, as if to say. It was a brilliant shot and very Danny Welbeck, just, you know, laughing at himself, but trying to make light of the situation. I hear everything about him in the dressing room. He's a great pro. He sets good standards. He's obviously been around some big pros at Manchester United and at Arsenal when he was there. People are always, he gets good receptions when he goes back to places. I just think he's one of those little diamonds for a manager to have, who can call on. Him and James Milner for Fabian Hürzeler, I think are absolute diamonds, mate. And, you talk about all this young talent that comes through. You have to have good people around your football club as well to make sure that young talent goes in the right direction. And Danny Welbeck's one of them. And won't be talked of with all the big strikers in the league now, but still does an important and still knows where the goal is.
He's very much a Robbie Earl favourite, and he ticks all the boxes to love him for Rob. Yeah, he's a great pro. Yeah. He's a consistent scorer. He's not a fancy Dan flash big mouth guy. He gets on with his work. He's always available. Yeah, I can't argue with that, mate. Underappreciated. Absolutely right. We have just been talking about a team that's got so many young players they could do with some experienced ones, and that's why we say this unprecedented at Chelsea, because of every young team, Man United, that class of 92 coming through, there's amazingly great pros to help them along in the team. There's probably 2 or 3 in the team at least to help these young players. And Danny Welbeck's one of those, as you've said. Steady Eddie, scores his goals, does his thing, knows his art, goes on about his business really professionally. I'm never going to push back at Danny Welbeck, Robin. And he loves scoring goals, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when he's scored over his career, wherever he's at.
Yeah.
He enjoys his craft. So fair play. Yeah, I don't mind that at all. And well done to Brighton. We're very quick to praise the 3Bs, the Bournemouth, Brighton, and Brentfords, because they are quite the story. And it's what we said many times what good ownership and recruitment can do for your club. And what an example that was. Brighton beating Chelsea pretty handily.
Okay, mate, we're going to move on to get through the other results. Big game at Villa Park this morning, actually, after the Aston Villa yet to win a game this season. Ollie Watkins yet to score a Premier League goal. Aston Villa hosting Fulham, a Fulham team that really do test you and make it difficult. And Fulham, 3 minutes into the game, Raul Jimenez gets himself a goal, and dark clouds circling again over Villa Park. But Ollie Watkins managed to equalised 37 minutes, gets a ball over the top, a bit old school Villa, going a bit more direct. Clips over the goalkeeper. John McGinn scores a very McGinn-like goal, and Buendia came on and had an effect second half, gets the third goal. Couple of things. Raul Jimenez picked up a bit of an injury with his hip. He had to come off. We're not sure what happened with him. But in terms of Villa, mate, was this just what was required? A bit more like normal service resumed for Villa and Unai Emery, who called his team lazy and lacked identity last week at Sunderland.
Yeah, well, I think you saw the reaction from Emery when the goals go in, the reaction and the emotion that he's putting through. And you could noticeably at 3-1, when they're 3-1 and they're cruising a little bit, the fans are much happier. Yeah. The players, I mean, it's amazing, Rob. Like, the main criticism that we've had, and I've certainly had with Villa watching them early on, is like, wow, what's happened to them?
Well,
they're playing so slow. Like, it's incredible. And then all of a sudden, I watched them today in the second half, Robert, 3-1, zipping the ball around, going into tackles. Yeah. It's amazing what goals do for you and how confidence changes and how it affects your work ethic and your attitude to the game. It's amazing. And that's the mental kind of part of the game when, the confidence goes up and everything changes. I thought that the McGinn goal could be quite the moment, Rob. That could be the, to go ahead from him. His celebration, and I don't know. I mean, it's like, okay, that's better, Villa. You're way, way too good to be in the bottom 3 in this league. That's absolutely crazy. And I just thought the football looked, that's more like it. No, and everything's not great. And, it still wasn't perfect in the last 20 minutes. They having to defend more than they probably wanted to. But that's more like it. And I expect Villa now to go on a bit of a run. That's back-to-back victories, I think, and Bologna, wasn't it, earlier?
Yeah.
In European football, in the Europa League.
This week.
So good win for them. And Villa, that's better. They've lost some players. Morgan Rogers, Rob, is I understand been getting stick off the fans. I'm like, what? What?
Crazy, isn't it?
Everything that they did last year and the development of this kid.
Home to Burnley next week as well. Home to Burnley. So,
there you go.
Another winnable game. And I think they've got a midweek game again in Europe. So, managing that's going to be a little bit of an issue. But,
it's like a big hangover, Rob, isn't it? It's like a big hangover from the Champions League. Not qualified.
Yeah.
Huge hangover.
Been over them.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like you say, how it affects training's not quite as good. You're not as sharp, and then all of a sudden, you get a couple of goals. Ollie Watkins gets goals. John McGinn gets a massive moment. The whole atmosphere changes.
Good comes
and
back.
It frees you up, doesn't it? It frees you up, and everything. So again, important win. Got 3 goals and 3 important points. Same, I suppose you could say at the Etihad. Manchester City hosting Burnley, who generally over the time, City have scored something like 30-odd goals to 2 in the last few games against Burnley. It's been that much one-sided. Turned out to be that way again, although it sort of started a little slower. Max Esteve with an own goal. Looked like Phil Foden had scored again, but it came off the defender. And then Jadon Anthony gets a nice equaliser. He's a decent player, the kid from Burnley. Came in on the left-hand side. He got an equaliser. So we're 1-1 at half-time, and you're thinking, maybe Burnley are going to do that defensive thing. But eventually, when City broke through Nunes with the goal, and then Erling Haaland does his thing, gets his 7th and 8th Premier League goals this season. Incredible numbers for him. So 2 Esteve own goals, and Nunes and 2 Haalands. A 5-1 win for City, and kind of, I think, I'd say, won't know about City until they put a consistent run. I kind of feel like there's 2 or 3 good performances, and maybe there's a drop off. So we'll have to wait and see.
It's how consistent is their inconsistency, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, are they going to have a couple of 2 or 3 good ones and a bad one? Or are they going to get rid of those bad ones and have one bad one in 10 or 15 where they can go right up to the top and challenge for the Premier League title? Again, like we've seen too much shakiness so far, but it's early in. There's 6 games being played.
I was just looking at the league, mate. They're the 10 points, sitting 7th, 10 points. So it's like 3 behind Arsenal and 5 behind Liverpool now. So
long way to go. Yeah,
long way to go, and they might still be in the race. Just a little mention, actually. I just want to mention Kyle Walker, mate, who came back. I thought he got a brilliant reception, and as a player who, was had a little bit of bad publicity towards the end of his time at Manchester City, but I think it was over 300 games, 13 major trophies, 6 Premier League titles. Pep said one of the best right backs he's worked with, and he's worked with some good ones, mate. Thought was, and there's certain days when, City have been playing the Barcelonas or PSGs, and he said, do a job on Messi, and Kyle Walker does a good job on Messi. So I think he's one of those players who deserves a little bit more credit than maybe he gets at times.
Yeah, you're right. I think, everybody needs a Kyle Walker.
Yeah.
Particularly that team in terms of balancing off of different profile of players. He's perfect for Man City in that pace, the recovery pace, when that high line. He did a brilliant job. And Burnley, it's a good pickup for Burnley. And like you said, like Jadon Anthony and a few others, they've gone for some Premier League experience now. Whether that's going to be enough, we'll have to wait and see. The newly promoted sides this time are doing a brilliant job, but it's, we both know after being there and doing this that it's a long, long season, and the promotion kind of excitement dies away in the next kind of few weeks. Burnley are already sort of showing signs of, heading towards the bottom of the league table or towards that area. So,
third bottom,
but no, it's a good shout. It's good to pick out Kyle Walker because, you haven't, it's not always the super skillful, intricate, creative types. You need others.
Yeah.
And he's an incredible defender. Yeah. And he could play a little bit. He kept the ball simple, but he's important for Man City. So it's really good they got a good reception. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. Tottenham Hotspur at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We're 1-0 down to Wolves. They've 4 minutes on. They've got Santiago Bueno from a set piece, stabbed the ball in after some poor defending from Spurs. And Spurs, to be honest, may have to wait till the 94th minute. Paulinho with an equaliser. Paulinho's been a bit of a standout. I was reading this week they're trying to get that loan turned into a transfer and get him bought. He's done that well in the midfield, but not a great day for Tottenham, mate. It didn't look like a Thomas Frank team, to be honest. I
don't know. I ain't sure what a Thomas Frank team is, mate. I said this before about Spurs. We've had so many different iterations of Tottenham already. Yeah. Different formations, different ways of playing. And that might be the way that he continues to do things, which is unusual. Like usually the top teams find a groove, and that's the way they play. I think there's a few boos and stuff. It's like, that's a bit harsh. They're in a good spot, Rob. This is a disappointing result at home against Wolves. Of course it is.
Yeah.
And Palhinha's celebration at the end was a kind of a nice moment. Takes his shirt off. He's absolutely ripped. That's a good moment. But, they're fourth in the Premier League right now, early. But I think after 6 games, Rob, we always used to say, didn't we? Okay, it's 6 games, you can look at people's starts.
To have a look at it.
You can look at their little start. And sitting in 4th place for Spurs isn't bad when the team plays in a much more balanced way. And first note I made about Tottenham watching the game, Rob, was like, kind of balanced. It's kind of and that's different to what it was like last year. So, they still think they're figuring out the best attack, particularly on the left-hand side. Mo Kudus looks a really good sign. He looks excited to play it. In midfield again, Bergvall sometimes looks $1 million. It was a bit of a quieter game for him. So, they are in a good spot. I think it's continue to watch this space. Again, I'm excited to see Spurs because I want to see what the norm is for them. What's their normal kind of approach. And this wasn't great because this should have been front foot and proactive football against Wolves. And it just didn't look particularly fluid or silky. So, those Spurs fans get frustrated pretty easily. It's a beautiful big stadium
at the club at the moment, and a lot of change going round. And
there's rumours about ownership and all that.
Takeovers and ownership. Yeah. And just one player I want to touch on, Rob, and this isn't. I'm not digging him out by any means, and I'm not. And I'll broaden the conversation out. Xavi Simons is a quality. I think he's 22 years of age. Operated, bought for $70-odd million, I think it was. He's a footballer, mate. You can see he's a technical, give and go little footballer.
Yeah.
He like Florian Wirtz to one or two others of these very good technical European footballers who play in other leagues, have come to the Premier League and realised there's a physicality and a speed about the Premier League that if you don't get up to that level, you can't command games, you can't run games. About 4 times I counted at the weekend where Xavi Simons is like showing someone the ball, he's got lovely feet and balance, he checks away from him and somebody just leaned into him and pushed him over. And he could see him looking around as if to say,
is that not foul?
That? Where is that? No, mate. In this league, you're not going to get your fouls. And I think it's just a reminder, Rob, that sometimes we sit on, we sit behind a desk and people sit at home and they watch a game and we're all critical. And it's a tough league to go in and dominate and show that you can be. The ones who are doing it are extra special.
Correct. And to continue that point, Rob, it must be the hardest thing for scouts and recruiters to try and visualize a skillful player in a different league and how that might go against the physicality. Because the defensive power and intensity in the Premier League is, when you see like against each other teams, it's hard to see how it stands out, Rob. Do you know what I mean? Like Jadon Sancho. Like I think Xavi Simons is kind of a mix of a in terms of the style profile of player as a Jadon Sancho and a Raheem Sterling. Like quick, accelerates, skillful. But it's so hard to gauge how that's going to go against a Kyle Walker from a few years ago, or the big, massive midfield players, or a Rodri, or some of these. And that's, in different leagues, maybe the intensity, the defensive power of the teams isn't quite as strong. So when there's been a ton of them that come to the Premier League, and it's like, wow, look at the videos of this guy. He looks $1 million bucks. And then it's just hard to beat players and to use that skill. So that, and like you said, the ones that come and like your Bergkamps and your Zolas and little Juninho we had at Middlesbrough, the little Brazilian, and some of these other skillful, the David Silvers and Nketiah, skillful. You've got to be incredibly skillful, and you've got to be amazing awareness and link, your IQ, to play 1-2s and to be clever and give the ball when it's getting tight. And then you have to beat, dribbling past any player in the Premier League is hard. It's really, really hard. And that's a good point, Rob. It's an interesting little thing to talk about, because you're right. I watched it also, and there's somebody else I'm thinking of as well that got pushed over in a game, and like, well, no, that's kind of how it is, and that's never going to be a foul. It's hard. That profile of play, it's hard to come and be really effective at this level.
Let's move to one team that's finding the step up. Sunderland, a 1-0 win away at Nottingham Forest. Nuno still waiting for his first win as Nottingham Forest manager, but Sunderland from strength to strength, mate. Alderete with the
Big defender.
header, gets around the back post. Forest a little bit sleeping in terms of picking up. He gets a goal, which was enough for him to hang on to. Another 3 points. And that's Sunderland now, mate, in 5th position in the league with 11 points.
Yeah.
It's been an incredible start for Regis Labus and the team and the club. And the fan base was there, mate. They were singing themselves crazy. I mean, they're going to be a fun watch this year. And I know it's early, but if they can keep amassing those points, mate, they could get themselves in a really good position by Christmas.
Well, again, they're taking advantage of the Stadium of Light and the excitement. The results have been good there. There's a brilliant away victory. You know, we've just been talking about super skillful players coming into this league. Sunderland are not going down that route. This is out and out power for Sunderland with the players that they brought. Isidore, the striker up front, really interested at the fan fest to speak to Kevin Phillips.
Yeah.
Former Sunderland legend of an amazing goal scorer, saying that he's watched Isidore very closely and he thinks he's got a little bit of everything to make it, to score goals in the Premier League. So if you bring in some physicality, you're not going to play football that's going to put you at risk of conceding silly and easy goals. You got a scorer, you got a chance. Physicality in midfield. We all know Granit Xhaka, Rob, the excellent signing. Talk about the perfect player. As I think Henderson's going to do pretty well at Brentford as well. But Granit Xhaka, just to have a project, to be the main man, to pull things around, knows exactly what it's like to be successful in the heat of a battle in the Premier League game. So far, so good for Sunderland. We won't continue this part of the table, but they continue to have a brilliant start, and it's going to help them in the second half of the season when we both know from personal experience,
of course we do,
it's a flipping hard slog.
It's a slog, the winter. There comes up with those winter months and pitches and weather.
Chasing around.
But I do get the sense that the manager looks smart, did a little bit of reading on him. He's a disciple of Wenger, came through Lorient, did the youth team, did the reserves, done the first team. He's calm, he's got good eye. You know, players seem really in tune with him. And I also think, mate, with this ownership group, read a little bit about them. If they have to go and do a little bit of business in the January window to secure things, I think they'll do that really as well. So great start. And I think it's just great for the league, mate.
It is great for the league.
Teams that have come up all look competitive and all look good. And
it looks like all of the North East clubs might be in the Premier League next season, Robbie. All of the top three in the North East. I wondered when you were going to get the Middlesbrough shout. Well, I think Middlesbrough are doing particularly well at the top of the Championship, and we'd love to see the North East.
We didn't hear so much last season when Rob Edwards wasn't doing so well with us.
Because Sunderland weren't in the league.
Let's move on to Leeds, a team who have come up. Got a 2-2 draw with Bournemouth. That seems, on paper is a good result. Semenyo with the first goal for Bournemouth. Ruben with a header, Longstaff with a beautiful shot, and then Kripke gets a late equaliser for Bournemouth. So a little bit of kick in the teeth for Leeds, who I'm sure 3 points at Ellen Road. But again, Leeds look competitive. Look like they're going to give it a good go this time around.
Yeah, I like what Leeds have done. I do kind of like the manager, actually. I know he's had a difficult times keeping teams in the Premier League. I kind of like him. I like what he says. I'm liking. This is a blow, to concede that goal late there and to concede 2 goals because they've been defending much better. And we always say this, Rob, don't we? I don't care what these newly promoted teams do going forward. You've got to be strong at the back and not give away easy goals. I got some good friends at Leeds United fans. They're really excited about what they're going to do this year. The ownership is kind of clean now with those guys from the 49ers taking over and bringing a lot of their expertise into the football club. I'm closely looking at Leeds. I think when we can, and I know that the 3 promoted teams have had a really good start. When you look at them now as to make a real quick assessment, I feel like Sunderland, wow, never thought I'd be saying this, but look like a really good chance to stay up. I feel like Burnley are going to really struggle to stay up. And I think that Leeds United are going to be right there. Right.
Yeah.
Got a chance. But it could go one way or the other, and that's way early. And it's a real flippant, maybe a little flippant comment, but just in terms of the first 6 games and what we've seen, Leeds have got a chance, and that's more we can say for the promoted teams last year, Rob. When they always looked like they were struggling. So I'd love to see Leeds do it. It's a huge football club, and we know they're making additions and modifications to the stadium. Tons of fans there. We know that. So. Yeah, didn't get a close look at this game, but I saw the highlights. And when I saw it 2-1, I'm like, wow, that's going to be a big result because Bournemouth are good. Bournemouth are really good.
Class.
Really good team.
Class. You know how it goes in the makeup room. We get in early. We talk to Ladyship, Lady Low. We chat all the week. this weekend we're getting Saturday morning. Her phone beeps. We get a text message. Graham Potter sacked. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, just when you're starting to build the start of the show, and we're thinking, should we do a bit of Man United? Should we do Brentford? Graham Potter gets sacked on sometime on the Saturday morning, we believe. Yeah. From what we've read, he speaks to his players and leaves. Nobody was named till later in the day. There was talks that Nuno was going to be named, and then that broke last night. So obviously stuff was going on behind the scenes. So Graham Potter out, Nuno in, my friend. What say you?
Here we go again. Here we go again. First off, I think it's just negotiating the deal for Nuno, wasn't it? I think that's what's taken the time. Yeah. They knew what they were going to do, and it's horrible when it breaks a little bit. You know, the club's speaking to other managers if you're Graham Potter. Again, for me, I want to see a few more weeks, but that's just me. Yeah. You know, again, take my timings and go off minus a month, and you get the right kind of decision. And we're going to go back to more pragmatic West Ham. That's where we're going to go. We go pragmatic. Let's spice up a little bit.
Can Nuno do any? Are we saying Nuno? Could Nuno look at this group?
No.
Maybe not built to be pragmatic, because at the moment, every time the ball goes in the box, they look like they might concede, and from set pieces, etc. Can he not look at that group and go, okay, I need a hybrid of that. I want to be a bit. I need to do this a bit differently. You know, he hasn't necessarily got the speed of an Elanga and a Hudson-Odoi in that. I mean, Bowen's a willing runner, but more with the ball. Paquetá's going to want it to feet and join things in. Fulkrug is a different type. Maybe Callum Wilson might fit. I'm just thinking, could he go with a different? Is he wedded to that one way of playing that we saw? Well,
when you say different, Rob, are you intimating that he might go with a possession-based, proactive style?
No, because that's too far the other way.
Right.
But a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. With, you know, wide players tuck in and go out for me. I've got three midfield players who are going to shore up.
I think that's what you see, Rob. I think that's what's been here. I'm not saying he's not. I feel like with Nuno, he's not a part of the bus. Pragmatic guy. He's not. But he's defence first mentality, and right now where they are on the league table,
that's what you need, isn't it?
We've gone through this cycle so many times, it's crazy. But that's what they need mostly. And I think he'll put he's had good players. He's had quick players and tricky players at Forest and Wolves and his different teams. So I think it's for where they are right now. I've always liked him.
Is he a good fit?
Well, what? Give me more. Give me more specific.
My issue with West Ham ownership, let me say, is. I don't think there's any long-term thought. I don't think it's joined up thinking. I think it's about, well, let's just get somebody who keeps us up this year, and then we'll worry about that.
But when they secure themselves, Rob, they're very quick to go more a more proactive style, because that's what the club wants, and it's the West Ham way, and etc. etc. Every single time that fails. But every single time.
Exactly. So this squad of players ain't good enough for that. That's the point I'm trying to make. So is it? Do they now feel, or are we saying now West Ham's success is going to be through a more pragmatic approach to playing counter-attack football? Yeah. Because I don't think this group of players can do that.
I think he can coach them to be able to do that, Rob.
You? So that's where we may be different.
Yeah, but you might be right. The likes of Lucas Paquetá, wherever he plays in the team, there's a defensive responsibility for him now that will be called out by the manager. And I guess maybe I trust Nuno can get that out of the players. Maybe you question that, and that's a fair difference between us. Yeah. I think he's had a history of getting players on side. I mean, has he done a bad job anywhere? No. The Spurs job was
absolutely. I think he's a good type. I think the players will get on with him. I think he'll get a connection with the fans.
Well, that's the thing, and that's the last thing is the fans. How will they connect with Nuno Espirito Santo? All other clubs, apart from Spurs, are like having him. He's a part of the community. He says the right things. He's not super dynamic. He win enough games,
I think, to win enough people over. Yeah. And I think that's the important point right now. And then sometime down the line, they're going to have to find their Oliver Glasner or their next version.
Do the whole thing again and just try and find a better one. You know, Lopetegui, Potter, all the ones they've had in the past after the pragmatic guys come in and secure things and do pretty good, as David Moyes did. But obviously, ideally, it isn't the perfect match, but right now it kind of is. He's available, Rob. He's available. And maybe when I say, well, give him a few more, maybe like when there's somebody that they feel is a good match, we got to jump earlier than we normally would. And that might be why they've gone as early as they have. Not the results have turned great, and I know he's had plenty of time there, but 5 games into a new season, Rob.
Yeah.
You know, I know results last year, but you know, new players. And finally on this, mate, the money that the club has spent badly, again, from Tim Stainton, who we had on our show a couple of years ago, all proud as punch of the players that he's brought in. That was a big investment from the club. I get fed up of saying it, Rob. If you don't get the recruitment right, you're stuck with those average players on big wages for a long period of time.
Some aging players as well, by the way.
So you're stuck. It puts you back years. If you recruit well, you got years of joy, years of good young players to do well for you. If you get bad ones, good luck trying to get rid of them. And West Ham have been guilty of that.
Well, we get a chance to look at Nuno's West Ham tomorrow against David Moyes' Everton. That's at Hill Dickinson Stadium tomorrow. Working on that one. So, going to be interesting just to see what and if, Nuno's done with that group of players in the last 24 hours. Quickly, mate, we're just before we wrap up, we're going to do a quick preview of one of the big games next weekend. Two big six teams who lost this weekend. Chelsea host Liverpool at Stamford Bridge. That's always a good game. There's a little bit of tension between those two clubs. How do you see that one going in terms of Liverpool coming back from the defeat at Crystal Palace? Chelsea, as we've talked about, a bit of a moving feast. Never quite sure what you're going to get with Chelsea. How do you think that one might go? I
fancy Liverpool. I mean, I didn't close look at Chelsea. I like to look at closely how they are before making a bold prediction or whatever. But I just think, I know Liverpool lost. I know we've criticised their defence, but I think, like you said about Chelsea's back line, I think Liverpool are going to get a lot of possession. Both want the ball. Both these managers want ball with the ball to be proactive and force their system on you. I mean, Chelsea's system is pretty cool. I like what he does there, and he outthought, Enrique against PSG in the final of the World Club competition. So that they've got a chance on there. I just think when it turns over, Liverpool are going to be a little bit too much for them. So to go for a winner, it would be Liverpool for me. What about you?
Yeah, well, I'd say the same. First of all, can they keep 11 men on the pitch? That would also help them rather than getting somebody sent off as well. Garnacho, don't know if he'll be a part of things, Rob. Obviously bedding him in slowly. There's no Cole Palmer, which is a loss, which takes a bit of that creativity out of the middle of the park. So, I would have to say that Liverpool would start as favourites. But I tell you what, if they defend like they did at Sellers Park, Chelsea have enough danger and pace and movement to cause them problems. So,
they do.
This could be a good game. And there's a bit on it for two top six teams who've got ambitions of being at the top end of the table. So, looking forward to that one. With that, mate, that's it for this weekend. Match week 6 of the Premier League. Probably the most dramatic we've had so far. Arsenal leave it late to take all points from the Toon. Palace end the champions' unbeaten run. And Manchester United continue to wobble under Ruben. I don't know why I said that, but that was it. We'll be back next weekend. That's Sunday, October the 6th, when we'll look back at Chelsea hosting Liverpool on the Saturday. But for now, I'm Earl. He's Musty, together with 2 Robbies. Thanks for watching and listening. Be safe, stay healthy. It's a good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Good night.
Good night.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host of NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. And for even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock.